Key battle where enemies became allies. Castle Itter. 1945. In the final days of World War II, something happened that sounds almost impossible. American soldiers fighting side by side with German troops, defending a castle against the SS. It sounds like a movie plot, but it's real. This is the story of the Battle of Castle Itter, one of the strangest and most unbelievable battles in history. May 1945. Nazi Germany is collapsing. Cities are burning, communication lines are broken, and the once powerful Third Reich is crumbling from within. But even as the war is nearly over, pockets of violence continue, especially from the most fanatical members of the SS, who refuse to surrender. High in the Austrian Alps sits Castle Itter. At first glance, it looks peaceful, a medieval fortress surrounded by forests and mountains. But inside, it holds prisoners unlike any other. This isn't a typical prison. Inside Castle Itter are some of the most important French figures captured by the Nazis: former prime ministers, generals, politicians, even tennis champions. Men who once held power, now locked away as hostages. Among them are figures like Édouard Daladier and Paul Reynaud, leaders of France before its fall. These are not ordinary prisoners. They are valuable and very vulnerable. And now, as Germany collapses, their situation becomes even more dangerous. Because the guards are leaving. As the Nazi regime begins to fall apart, many SS guards abandon their posts. Some flee. Others simply disappear. Castle Itter is left nearly unguarded. For the prisoners, this is not freedom. It's a death sentence waiting to happen. Because outside the castle walls, rogue SS units are still active, and they know exactly who is inside. High-value prisoners. Political enemies. Symbols. Targets. If the SS reaches the castle before Allied forces do, there will be no rescue. No negotiation. Just execution. Inside the castle, tension rises. The prisoners realize they cannot wait. They need help, and fast. So they make a desperate decision. They send a messenger. A Yugoslav prisoner named Zvonimir Kukovic volunteers to escape. Slipping past what remains of the guards, he makes his way through the Austrian countryside, searching for Allied troops. It's a dangerous journey. The war isn't over yet, and SS patrols are still roaming the area. But somehow he makes it. Eventually, he encounters a unit of American soldiers. And this is where the story takes its first unexpected turn. The American unit is led by Captain John C. Jack Lee Jr. When he hears about the situation at Castle Itter, he doesn't hesitate. These prisoners are too important to ignore, and time is running out. But there's a problem. Lee doesn't have enough men. What he's about to do is risky, maybe even reckless. And then, something even more unexpected happens. Nearby, a German officer named Major Joseph Gangl is facing a decision of his own. Gangl is a Wehrmacht officer, not SS. By this point in the war, he knows Germany has lost. But more importantly, he has seen enough. He has witnessed the destruction, the suffering, the brutality, and he wants no part in it anymore. Instead of continuing to fight for a lost cause, Gangl does something rare and incredibly dangerous. He turns against the SS. Gangl begins working with the Austrian resistance, trying to protect civilians from fanatical SS units still operating in the region. So when he learns about the situation at Castle Itter, he makes a choice. He will help the Americans. Think about that for a moment. An American officer and a German officer joining forces in the middle of World War II, just days before the war officially ends. It's almost unthinkable, but it's real. Captain Lee and Major Gangl form an alliance. Together, they gather a small force, around a dozen American soldiers, a handful of German Wehrmacht troops loyal to Gangl, and local resistance fighters. It's not much, but it's all they have. They move quickly toward Castle Itter, knowing that every minute counts. When they arrive, they find the situation exactly as feared. The castle is exposed, and the enemy is already on the move. The defenders barely have time to prepare. Weapons are distributed. Positions are taken. Even the prisoners themselves are ready to fight if necessary. These are not soldiers, but they understand what's at stake. There will be no second chance. Soon, the SS arrive. Estimates suggest around 100 to 150 SS troops, far more than the defenders. They surround the castle. The siege begins. Gunfire echoes through the mountains. The defenders hold their positions, firing from windows and walls. The castle, built centuries earlier, now becomes a fortress once again. But the odds are brutal. They are outnumbered, outgunned, and isolated. At one point, the Americans' main tank, nicknamed Besotten Jenny, is destroyed, removing their strongest weapon. Now, they are even more vulnerable. Inside the castle, the situation becomes desperate. Ammunition is running low. Communication is limited, and the SS are closing in. But something incredible happens. The prisoners, these former politicians and leaders, refuse to stay hidden. They join the fight. Armed with whatever they can find, they take positions alongside American and German soldiers. Enemies just days ago, now fighting together for survival. The battle rages on for hours. The SS attempt to breach the castle, pushing closer and closer. Every shot matters. Every second counts. And then, tragedy strikes. Major Joseph Gangle is killed. While trying to protect one of the French prisoners from sniper fire, he steps into the open and is shot. He dies not as an enemy, but as a protector. A German officer who chose to stand against the SS and paid the ultimate price. Inside the castle, the loss is felt immediately, but there is no time to mourn. The fight continues. The defenders are holding, but barely. If help doesn't arrive soon, it's over. And then, in the distance, something changes. Gunfire begins to echo from another direction. Reinforcements. American troops from the 142nd Infantry Regiment finally arrive. They push through the SS lines, breaking the siege. The attackers begin to retreat. And just like that, it's over. The Battle of Castle Itter ends in victory for the defenders. Against overwhelming odds, they survived. The prisoners are safe. The castle still stands. And one of the strangest battles in history comes to an end. But what makes this story truly unforgettable isn't just the battle itself. It's the people. American soldiers fighting alongside German troops. A German officer sacrificing his life to save a former enemy. Prisoners picking up weapons to defend themselves. In a war defined by division, hatred, and destruction, this battle was different. It was a moment where lines blurred, where enemies became allies, where humanity, even in the darkest of times, still found a way to emerge. Just days later, Nazi Germany officially surrendered. The war in Europe was over. But the story of Castle Itter remains. A reminder that even in the chaos of war, not everything is black and white. So next time you think about World War II, remember this. There was a moment, brief, chaotic, and almost unbelievable, when Americans and Germans stood side by side and fought together. Because sometimes, history is stranger than fiction.